A poor girl gave a billionaire a strange silver egg, and what happened next turned his fortune and his soul upside down. In the bustling heart of Lagos, amidst the glass towers and chaotic traffic, there lived a billionaire named Tundajala. Known for his luxury cars, private islands, and diamond-studded watches, Tun was a man who believed money could buy anything except happiness. Despite his wealth, his face was often tight with frustration, and his sleep was haunted by dreams he never understood. One sweltering afternoon, as his convoy of black SUVs crawled through a narrow street in the old part of the city, Tund noticed something unusual. By the roadside, beneath a tattered umbrella, a young girl sat cross-legged on a woven mat. Her dress was faded, her slippers mismatched, but her eyes glowed with a strange, calm fire. In her hands, she held a small silver-colored egg, no bigger than a mango. Her voice cut through the noise as she called out to him. "Oga, buy this egg. It will change your life." Tund almost laughed. An egg? The man who dined on imported truffles and drank champagne older than most countries? But something in her tone, quiet, confident, made him roll down his tinted window. "How much?" he asked, expecting some ridiculous amount. The girl shook her head. "It's not for sale. I will give it to you if you promise to use it wisely." Now, Tun did not believe in charms, juju, or street superstition. But his boredom was heavier than his skepticism. He nodded. "Fine. I promise." The girl rose, placed the cool, smooth egg in his palm, and whispered, "Your promise will be tested." Then she melted back into the crowd before he could ask her name. That night, strange things began to happen. When Tund placed the egg on his bedside table, the air in his room shifted. The city's noise dulled. The scent of burning diesel and fried plantains faded. In his dreams, he saw a vast golden field under a purple sky, and in the middle stood the same girl, holding another silver egg. The next morning, the stock price of his struggling tech company doubled, without any logical reason. By the end of the week, 3 of his dormant investments brought in massive profits. It was as if fortune itself had bent to his will. Tund, who had been losing millions in a crumbling venture, suddenly saw everything reversing. Business rivals began to call him the man who cannot lose. But the girl's words gnawed at him. "Your promise will be tested." The test came sooner than expected. One evening, a news alert flashed on his phone. Massive flooding hits Makoko, hundreds homeless. Relief funds were needed urgently. Normally, Tun gave just enough charity to polish his public image, never more. But as he stared at the silver egg, it seemed to pulse faintly under the dim light. He remembered his promise and, in a rare moment of generosity, donated 500 million Nigerian nairas, enough to rebuild homes and restore lives. That night, the egg shone brighter, and in his dreams, the purple sky deepened, and the girl smiled faintly at him. Then came the second test. A multinational offered him a secret deal to help them seize farmland from a poor rural community in exchange for billions. Tun's greed screamed yes. But when he looked at the egg, it had developed a thin black crack. Fear prickled his skin. He rejected the deal. 2 days later, the government awarded him a legitimate, far more profitable contract, completely unrelated. The egg's crack vanished. Months passed, and Tun began to change. He started visiting orphanages quietly, funding schools, and paying off debts for strangers. The more good he did, the luckier he became. It was as if the egg rewarded kindness with prosperity. Then came the twist. One rainy night, while reviewing contracts in his penthouse, the doorbell rang. Standing there, soaked to the bone, was the girl. She looked exactly the same faded dress, same mismatched slippers. "It's time," she said simply. "For what?" Tund asked, a strange panic rising in his chest. "To return what was borrowed." He led her inside, clutching the egg. "What are you? A spirit? A witch?" She smiled faintly. "Neither. My people guard gifts that pass from hand to hand. The silver egg doesn't belong to anyone forever. It chooses who to help, and for how long." Tund shook his head. "I can't give it back. I need it." Her eyes hardened. "You needed it when you were empty. But now you are full. If you keep it beyond your time, it will not bless you, it will destroy you." A cold wind swept through the room. The egg began to feel hot in his palm. Memories of his old greed surged in his mind. tempting him to ignore her warning. He thought of the billions still to be made, the power still to be gained. But then he remembered the purple sky in his dreams, the faces of children he had helped, the laughter in places where there had once been ruin. Slowly, painfully, he placed the egg in her hands. The moment her fingers closed around it, the egg dissolved into silver mist and vanished. The girl's form flickered. Her hair turned into strands of moonlight. Her skin shimmered like morning dew. "You passed," she said, her voice now echoing like 1,000 bells. "Few do." And then she was gone. The next day, Tund expected his fortune to vanish. But it didn't. His wealth remained. His businesses continued to thrive. And yet, something deeper had shifted. He no longer saw money as his god. He found himself sitting in places he'd never have visited before. Roadside stalls, small clinics, local markets. He was happy. Years later, at the opening of a free university he had built in the north, Tund spotted another poor girl in the crowd, holding a small silver egg. She was approaching a weathered old farmer. The cycle had begun again. Sometimes the true treasure is not the gift, but what it awakens inside you.